Stop treating technology like a strategy, what small business owners get wrong about AI. Let's start here. Technology isn't your strategy, it's your tool. I was talking to a small business owner last week. Great guy, runs a regional distribution company, and he tells me, Scott, we're going AI. That's our strategy for 2026. And I had to pause him right there. Because here's the thing, that's not a strategy. That's like saying your strategy is we're going spreadsheets or we're going telephones. Technology is a tool, not a strategy. I'm Scott Lindsay, and I've spent my entire career in the trenches of risk, operations, and technology decisions. I've been Chief Risk Officer, Chief Compliance Officer, Director of Internal Audit, even CFO of a publicly traded bank. I've worked with global financial institutions, guiding executive teams through regulatory nightmares and operational overhauls that would make your head spin. But I'm also an entrepreneur. I founded and grew an internet solutions company from nothing to serving over 85 financial institutions, hundreds of thousands of customers, government agencies across multiple states. So I've been on both sides of this. I know what it's like to make a tech bet when it's your own money on the line. And that's exactly what we need to talk about today on Small Business Risk. Because there's this dangerous narrative out there. This idea that AI is some kind of magic wand you wave at your business problems. That technology itself is the answer. But it's not. Technology is just a really sophisticated hammer. And if you don't know exactly what nail you're trying to hit, you're just going to make an expensive mess. Look, if you're getting value from these conversations about real business risk and practical decision-making, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I put out content every week about the stuff they don't teach you in business school, the gotchas that cost small businesses real money, and drop a comment below. I want to know what tech decisions are keeping you up at night. Are you being pressured to do AI? Trying to figure out if that shiny new software is worth it? Let's talk about it. So let's get into it. AI is everywhere right now, right? Every vendor pitch, every conference, every LinkedIn post. AI will revolutionize your business. AI will save you time. AI will make you competitive. And you know what? Some of that might even be true. But here's what nobody's telling you. Most small businesses aren't even remotely ready for AI implementation. I mean it. Not because they're not smart enough or because the technology is too advanced, but because the fundamentals aren't there. You know what the most common thing I see is? Business owners who can't even tell me what specific problem they're trying to solve. They just know they're supposed to be doing AI. An owner of a mid-sized professional services firm, about 75 people, came to me all excited about implementing an AI customer service chatbot. They'd been pitched by a vendor, seen a demo, the whole 9 yards. So I asked them, what's the problem you're solving? And they said, well, we want to be more efficient. Okay, but efficient at what? Customer service. Fine, but what specifically about your customer service is broken right now? Turns out they didn't actually know. They hadn't measured response times, hadn't tracked customer satisfaction, hadn't documented what questions customers were actually asking. They just had this vague sense that AI could help. You know what I mean? So we backed up, way up, and we discovered their real problem wasn't customer service at all. It was internal communication between their sales team and delivery team. Customers were getting confused because they were hearing different things from different people. No amount of AI customer service was going to fix that. They needed clear processes, better documentation, and honestly, a shared spreadsheet and a weekly meeting did more for them than any AI tool ever would have. Here's the thing about technology decisions, and this is something I learned the hard way running my own internet solutions company. Every single one of them is fundamentally a business decision, not an IT decision, a business decision. And that means you need to understand 3 things cold: risk, cost, and ROI. Let's talk about risk first, because that's my world. When you're implementing any technology, but especially something like AI, you're taking on multiple layers of risk. There's operational risk. What happens if it breaks? There's data risk. What information are you feeding into this system? There's compliance risk. Are you accidentally violating privacy laws or industry regulations? There's vendor risk. What happens if this company goes under or gets acquired? And there's reputational risk. What happens if your AI does something stupid or offensive or just plain wrong? There was a small healthcare provider, we're talking 3 locations, maybe 40 employees, who was looking at an AI scheduling system. Sounded great on paper, but when they dug into it, it was realized they'd be uploading patient health information to a third-party cloud service. Now, that might be fine if you've got the right business associate agreements in place, if the vendor is regulatory compliant, if your own staff is trained on what data they can and can't put in there. But they hadn't thought about any of that. They were just excited about AI scheduling. That's not a technology problem. That's a risk management problem. And if you don't get that right, you're not being innovative, you're being reckless. Then there's cost. And I don't just mean the sticker price, though that's important too. I mean total cost of ownership. What's the implementation going to cost? Not just in dollars, but in time, in distraction, in change management. What's the training going to cost? What's the ongoing maintenance and subscription fees? What's the cost of integrating it with your existing systems? And here's the killer that nobody talks about. What's the cost of being wrong? If this doesn't work out, what did you just spend that you're never getting back? Time is usually the biggest one. I've seen companies spend 6 months implementing a system that they abandon after 3 months of actually using it. That's not 9 months of wasted time. That's 9 months where they weren't focused on their actual business. Which brings us to ROI, return on investment. And this is where most small businesses just completely fall apart because they haven't defined what success looks like before they start. You know what the most dangerous phrase in small business technology is? It would be nice if we had better visibility into inventory. It would be nice if our team could collaborate more easily. It would be nice if we could automate some of this manual work. All of those might be true, but nice is not a business case. Nice doesn't pay the bills. You need to be able to say, if we implement this technology, we will reduce inventory carrying costs by 15%, which at our volume translates to $47,000 annually. The system costs $12,000 a year, so we're looking at a $35,000 net benefit, which gives us a 3-year ROI of $105,000, assuming no growth. That's a business case. That's something you can make a decision on. So let's get tactical here. If you're a small business owner considering any technology investment, AI or otherwise, here's what you actually need to do. First, forget about the technology for a minute. I'm serious. Just put it aside. Instead, describe your problem in pure business terms. Not, we need better software. That's not a problem. That's a solution looking for a problem. But something like, we're losing 15% of our qualified leads because it takes us more than 24 hours to follow up. Or, we're spending 20 hours a week on manual data entry that's error-prone and frustrating our team. Specific, measurable, painful. If you can't articulate the problem in those terms, you're not ready to talk about solutions yet. You need to go measure something first. Second, document your current state. I cannot stress this enough. Most businesses have no idea what their actual baseline is. They have feelings and impressions, but not data. Before you change anything, you need to know exactly where you're starting from. How long does this process currently take? How many errors are you making? What's your customer satisfaction score? What's your employee turnover in this department? I learned this being involved with internal audit for years. You can't manage what you don't measure, and you definitely can't prove ROI on an improvement if you didn't measure where you started. Third, map out what success looks like, and not in vague terms, in specific measurable outcomes. We will reduce the lead response time to under 4 hours for 90% of inquiries, or we will cut data entry time by 60% while reducing errors by 80%. Notice those are outcomes, not technology specifications. You don't care what tool gets you there. You care that you get there. Fourth, now and only now do you start looking at technology options, and here's where you need to be honest with yourself about your data. Because AI is really just pattern recognition and prediction based on data. If your data is garbage, AI will just help you make mistakes faster and more confidently. Let me tell you what I mean. There was a retail business that wanted to use AI for inventory management and demand forecasting. Sounds perfect, right? AI is great at that stuff. But when they looked at their data, it was a disaster. They had products listed under 3 different naming conventions depending on who entered it. They had stockouts that weren't recorded as stockouts. They were just marked as 0 sales for that day. They had returns that weren't properly tracked. Their data was telling them that their best-selling product had only sold twice in the last year, when in reality, they'd sold hundreds of units. You feed that data into an AI system, and what do you think happens? The AI will confidently tell you to stop carrying your best-selling product, because garbage in, garbage out. That's not the AI's fault. That's a data quality problem. And data quality problems are almost always business process problems. So here's the brutal truth. If you don't have clean, consistent, well-organized data right now, you're not ready for AI. Full stop. You need to fix your data hygiene first. And you know what? That's not a technology project. That's an operations project. It's about training, processes, accountability, quality control, the unglamorous stuff that nobody wants to talk about at conferences. Fifth, understand that cybersecurity is not optional anymore. I don't care how small you are. If you're connecting systems, if you're storing customer data, if you're doing anything online, which you are, you need to take security seriously. And that means understanding what data you're putting, where, who has access to it, and what happens if something goes wrong. I've seen small businesses get absolutely wrecked by security incidents, and it's not just the big ransomware attacks you hear about in the news. It's the slow, quiet stuff. The employee who accidentally shared a file with the wrong permissions, the vendor who got compromised and now someone has access to your customer list, the AI tool that's using your proprietary data to train their models, and now your competitive advantage is being shared with your competitors. When you're evaluating any technology, especially AI tools, you need to read the fine print. What data are you sharing? Where is it stored? Who owns it? Can you delete it? What are they doing with it? Is it being used for training? Who has access to it? I've read hundreds of vendor contracts at this point, and you know what I've learned? Most of them are deliberately vague about data rights because they want maximum flexibility to monetize your data. That's their business model. You're not the customer, you're the product. Your data is what they're really after. That doesn't mean don't use these tools, but it means go in with your eyes open. Understand what you're trading. Maybe it's worth it, but it should be a conscious decision, not something you discover 6 months later when you try to switch vendors and realize you can't get your data back in a usable format. Look, I know this is a lot, and if you're still with me, that tells me you're serious about making smart decisions for your business. So do me a favor, take a second and like this video. It helps other business owners find this kind of practical, no BS guidance. And I really want to hear from you in the comments. What's your biggest technology headache right now? Are you dealing with vendor promises that sound too good to be true? Trying to justify a tech investment to partners or board members? Drop a comment because your question might be the next video. You know what I find most frustrating about the current tech hype cycle, especially around AI? It's created this narrative that technology is a shortcut, that it's a way to skip the hard work of building a real business with real processes and real discipline. And it's not true. It's never been true. I've seen this movie before. I watched it with the dot-com boom. I watched it with social media. I watched it with mobile apps. I watched it with blockchain and crypto. Every single time, the narrative is the same. This changes everything. The old rules don't apply. If you're not moving fast, you're going to get left behind. And every single time, the businesses that actually succeed are the ones that treat technology as a tool to solve specific problems, not as a get-rich-quick scheme. Because here's the thing, technology can't fix a bad business model. It can't fix poor leadership. It can't fix a product nobody wants or a service that doesn't deliver value. What technology can do, when used correctly, is make a good business better. It can help you serve more customers. It can help you operate more efficiently. It can help you scale in ways that weren't previously possible. But it's an amplifier, not a solution. If what you're amplifying is garbage, well, you just get more garbage, faster. I learned this the hard way with my own internet solutions company. We had this moment early on where we were convinced that the next big feature was going to be the thing that exploded our growth. We spent 3 months building it, delayed other projects, pulled people off customer support, And you know what happened when we launched it? Nothing. Absolute crickets. Because we'd built something we thought was cool, not something our customers actually needed. The businesses that were actually succeeding, our clients who were growing, who were profitable, who were building sustainable operations, they weren't the ones with the fanciest technology. They were the ones who understood their customers, who had solid processes, who made decisions based on data, and who used technology strategically to support those fundamentals. That's what I try to bring to every consulting engagement now. When someone comes to me asking about AI or automation or whatever the hot technology is, the first thing I do is make them step back and explain their business to me. What's your value proposition? Who are your customers? What are your unit economics? What are your operational bottlenecks? Where are you actually losing money or time? 9 times out of 10, the answer isn't the shiny new technology they were asking about. It's something much more mundane. It's better training for their staff. It's clearer documentation of their processes. It's fixing a broken handoff between departments. It's getting their existing systems to actually talk to each other properly. And here's the kicker. Those fixes are usually faster and cheaper than implementing new technology, but they're not sexy. Nobody's writing articles about how better documentation transformed this company. There's no venture capital being thrown at process improvement as a service. But that's where the real value is for most small businesses. So here's what I want you to do. Before you make your next technology decision, whether it's AI or just a new software subscription, I want you to answer these questions honestly. What specific measurable problem are you solving? Not, we want to be more efficient, but specifically, what's broken and how much is it costing you? What does success look like in concrete terms? If this works, what will be measurably different 6 months from now? What's your current baseline? Do you have actual data on where you're starting from, or are you just going on gut feel? Is your data ready for this? Is it clean, consistent, and reliable, or do you need to fix that first? What's the total cost of ownership? Not just the sticker price, but implementation, training, integration, ongoing maintenance, and the cost of being wrong. What are the risks? Data security, operational, compliance, vendor stability, reputational. Have you thought through what could go wrong? Is there a simpler solution you're overlooking? Could you solve this problem with better processes, training, or using tools you already have? If you can't answer all of those questions clearly, you're not ready to make that technology investment. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're behind or you're going to miss out. It means you're being responsible. You're treating technology like what it is, a tool that serves your business strategy, not a strategy in itself. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Most technology investments in small businesses don't pay off. Not because the technology is bad, but because it wasn't the right solution for the actual problem, or because the problem wasn't well defined in the first place, or because the business wasn't ready for the change required to actually use the technology effectively. Technology is powerful. AI is genuinely transformative for certain applications, but it's not magic, it's not a shortcut, and it's definitely not a substitute for clear thinking, disciplined execution, and a solid understanding of your business fundamentals. So make sure you do the hard work first. Understand your business, measure what matters, fix your processes, clean your data. Then, and only then, look at technology as a way to amplify what's already working. That's how you build a sustainable business. That's how you manage risk intelligently. And that's how you make technology decisions that actually deliver ROI instead of just making expensive mistakes with cooler-looking tools. I'm Scott Lindsay, and this is Small Business Risk. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel because we're going deep on this stuff every week. And drop me a comment. I will read every single one, and your questions drive what I cover next. Now go make better decisions. And remember, technology is a tool, not a strategy. Use it accordingly.